Hello everyone! Today I will be presenting a book review on What Video Games Have to Teach Us About Learning and Literacy by James Paul Gee. So before going into the book review, I just wanted to present some brief details about the author. James Paul Gee is an American researcher, professor at Arizona State University, and author of What Video Games Have to Teach Us About Learning and Literacy. He has also worked in psycholinguistics, discourse analysis, sociolinguistics, bilingual education, and literacy. Gee is currently working in the field of new literacies, in which he has shifted his research to focus somewhat from studying language in use to examining the discourses of a range of new social practices. And these practices include video games and learning, which is the main theme of this book. So, the thesis of this book is how video games give a glimpse into how one might create new and more powerful ways to learn in schools, communities, and workplaces. So, when Gee was creating the book, What Video Games Have to Teach Us About Learning Literacy, he wanted to explain how the learning principles in video games can actually be applied in the K through 12 classrooms. So this book includes 36 principles that Gee actually developed that are present in video games in hope that the same principles can be applied in the classroom environment. In this book review, I won't be explaining all 36 principles, but here are just a couple of them. They include identity development, interactive approaches, risk taking, rethinking goals, engaging in cross functional teams, and using smart tools and distributed knowledge. So, apparently, some of these principles have been found in video games and also link to the learning in classrooms, in which Gee actually researched it in his own time and found these principles. So, in this book, Gee gives a vast amount of evidence and research about how video games do have similar and beneficial learning principles in the classroom environment, but he doesn't go into much detail about what teachers can do to include these principles in their lessons, and basically what activities teachers can present that will have the same principles while not actually requiring students to play video games to get the same learning experience. And pulling from one of his pages from his book, as shown on the left, he does mention that he is aware that not all students play video games. Therefore, they don't get to experience any of these benefits. So, the one suggestion that I can think of for one of the activities that students can do in the classrooms that have these same principles is having students play through internet sites developed for educational purposes. That way they can get the best of both worlds. They can learn about the specific subject while also utilizing the same principles that Gee developed, such as understanding words, images, developing different identities to learn about the students themselves, risk taking, etc. I just wish that he would have expanded more on this issue, knowing that he is a professor and knows the classroom structure and has at one point created his own lesson plans as a teacher. But then again, this book may have not been created for that purpose. It may have only been for presenting the research and his argument about video games and learning. So, some strengths and weaknesses for this book. Some of the strengths are I like how he included his own personal experiences with video games in the beginning. In the beginning, he talked about him and his son's personal experience about playing video games and how he saw how fun it was for his son to play these video games. And he saw the challenges, learning potential, and consistent struggle of these games, which actually motivated his son. And I like that he also provided plenty of research to back up his argument. Most of the book was talking about video games and the benefits it has on the student's cognitive thinking. And I also liked how he organized all 36 principles well in the book. Some of the weaknesses, like I was saying, was classroom suggestions. I just wish that he would have included more suggestions on how video games and learning can actually be incorporated in the classroom. And I also wish that he would have talked more about the educational aspect. I just wish that there was more of a balance between talking about video games and literacy. He more so focused on talking a lot about video games. But overall, I would recommend anyone to read this book because he does make some great points about how video games and learning do actually relate to each other.